Hi there, my name is Roger Fothergill and I live in the beautiful Scottish Highlands. And this time last week I was due to go out to Uganda, but because of the pandemic I've not been able to go. And when I go to East Africa, I love sharing the gospel stories of Jesus that you get in the four gospels. I will start with in Revelation chapter 2, the angel from the Lord is talking to the church in Ephesus, and Revelation 2 verse 2, it says, I know your deeds, your hard work and your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked men, and that you have tested those who claim to be apostles, but are not, and have found them false. You have persevered and have endured hardships for my name, and have not grown weary. So here is a good church in Ephesus. They work hard. They've identified people who are fakes, basically, and they've endured hardships. But then the Lord goes on to say to them, yet I hold this against you. You have forsaken your first love. I've been a Christian over 50 years, and maybe you've been a Christian for a long time. How easy it is to forsake our first love. That's for Jesus himself. We get busy in doing things, and we get sidetracked into things. Many of these things are good, but we get diverted from our prime love, and that's for the Lord himself. And what I want to do over the next few days is share with you, if you're interested, to share with you many of the stories of Jesus in the Gospels, and there's a lot of teaching here, and it's great stuff. After the resurrection, when Jesus rose from the dead, the disciples were in a locked room, and there for fear of the Jews outside, and Jesus came and stood among them. And it's interesting, but there's no closed doors for Jesus. He can get through that. But there is one door that he doesn't get through, and that's the door of your heart, because the lock's on the inside and you have to open it, invite him in. In Revelation 3:20, it says, behold, I stand at the door and knock, and if anybody hears my voice, I will come in and eat with them and them with me. And so we have to open the door of our hearts to let him in. He doesn't just trample his way in without being asked. There was a problem with the first visit Jesus made to those disciples in that room. There was one problem, and that is that Thomas, one of the disciples, wasn't there. He said, unless I see the holes in his hands and the slit in his side, I'm not going to believe it. I like Thomas. People call him Thomas the Doubter, but I like him because he said the way it was. If you remember back in John 14, Jesus says, he's talking to the disciples, and he says, you know the place I'm going to. And Thomas is the only honest one amongst them that says, well, we don't know the way. How can you tell us we know the way when you haven't told us? We're not clear on this. And then Jesus responds by saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God the Father except through me. There is no other way to heaven. There's no other way to God's presence except through him. He's our Savior. He's the one that died for us. So Thomas is exactly spells out where it's at. And it's beautiful because 8 days later, the disciples again are alone in a room, and this time Thomas is with them. Jesus specifically comes back for Thomas. I find that so encouraging. I often feel as if I'm a pretty second-rate disciple, and sometimes wonder if the Lord's ever going to say to me, well, you've tried hard, but you're not very good. But here Jesus comes back for Thomas. He always comes back. There's always another opportunity with the Lord. I wonder if you today, you feel far away from the Lord himself, but he always wants you to come back to be with him. And when Jesus came into the room that second time, he walked straight over to Thomas, said, Thomas, look at my hands. Put your finger here and put your hand into my side. Stop doubting and believe. And Thomas says, my Lord and my God. Isn't that wonderful? And Jesus said to him, or said to all of them, I suppose, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. And that applies to us. If you are a believer and you've not actually physically seen Jesus with your own eyes, but you believe in him, you will go to paradise just like the rest of us believers and be with him. I'll do some more videos like this, and if you like it, you can join me then. I hope you enjoyed it. Bless you. Bye-bye.